Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and it is now time for the Recharged Women in Automotive panel at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. We want to thank our great friends, amazing panelists who are here today. I want to give a quick shout out to both Veronica Dunford and Kathy Gilbert for the amazing work they are doing behind the scenes. And I'd like to turn over the panel to a great friend of the Fixed Ops community. It is Lizette Gohl, who is the head of automotive retail at Google. Lizette, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
I'm so happy to be back. Thanks, Ted. It's great to see all of you. I cannot wait for this panel today.
Well, you've got amazing talent. I know you've got a lot of questions to ask, and it's a great time in our industry. So, Lizette, I'm going to step out of the way and let you get things started.
Thanks, Ted. First, I just want to say I'm so honored to be here with you, influential and powerful women in this industry across dealerships, agencies, and our partners today. So thank you all for joining us. And our intent for our time together today is to discuss furthering access in our great industry that we all know and love so well to other women. And I know that this is something in particular that this group is really passionate about and that you are all dedicating your careers to doing. So before we begin, I'd like to properly introduce each of you as our esteemed panel members. And we'll start with Veronica. I'd like to introduce Veronica Dunford, co-owner of the Women in Automotive and Executive Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for Dealerbuilt. Welcome, Veronica.
Thanks, Lizette. I'm happy to be here and always supporting Ted Ings and the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
We're thrilled to have you. And next, I'd like to introduce Kathy Gilbert, also co-owner of Women in Automotive and Senior Director of Minority Dealer and Women in Retail for CDK Global. Welcome, Kathy. Next, I would like to introduce Eliana Raggio, Director of Industry Relations at Digital Airstrike. And Eliana is also a Women in Automotive board member.
Hi, everyone. And yes, this is the first time Lizette has asked me to speak for her, and I usually am the one who's calling her. So thank you, Lizette, for inviting me.
So exciting. Great to have you.
Thank you.
And Michelle McLean, CEO and brand strategist of Retention Masters, also a Women in Automotive board member. Welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. So great to be here with all of you amazing women.
And Danielle Cumby, Director of Sales Integration for Spectrum Automotive Holdings. Welcome, Danielle.
Thanks, Lizette, for having me. I'm so excited to be here with everyone.
And Jennifer Donovan, CMO of Dom 360. Welcome, Jennifer. It's nice to see you again.
Thank you for having me.
And finally, last but certainly not least, Kara Delane, Marketing and Advertising Director for the Henson Brand Dealerships. Welcome, Kara.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited because I know this panel is going to be the best one.
So let's dive into the panel. And I wanted to talk about the progress of increasing the presence in women in automotive. And as I mentioned, this is something that everybody in this forum cares deeply about. And I was reflecting on my career and I was thinking, personally, I've had a great honor of meeting each of you at industry events like Fixed Ops Roundtable, NADA, Digital Dealer, and of course, Women in Automotive. And over my 20-year career, I feel like I've seen the presence of women and underrepresented groups increase in leadership positions. And I think this is something that personally I'm really grateful to be a part of. But I also think that despite that, I still observe we have a long way to go, not only in key industry executive and leadership positions, but also within the day-to-day operations of our great industry. So when I think about day-to-day operations, I think about the dealership sales floor, F&I, service departments, and really women in the automotive retail sector in particularly, which is, as you know, something that I'm particularly passionate about. So I wanted to anchor us in a little bit of data first. According to Catalyst Inc., which is one of my favorite research forums for women in industries, women in the US have cited multiple reasons for avoiding a career in the automotive industry. And in 2020, so this is very recent, that included a lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion, a lack of work-life balance, and a lack of flexible schedules. And so I want to talk about all of that today. And although women are almost half of the US labor force, they represent just 26% of the automotive workforce. And 21% were automotive dealership employees, and only 9% were automotive repair and maintenance employees. So we can see, very clearly in these numbers how it is different than the US workforce. And we know that the data of women and underrepresented groups, when we're in an early to mid-career stage, that greatly influences then the trajectory for the leadership and executive positions that they would like to hold later on. So what I wanted to do is talk about three things that I think are influencing this with each of you. And I know this is something we've talked about in particular. The first one is, how do you choose the right candidate for a culture add versus leaning into a culture fit? The next one is, how are we embracing change so we can get more women into our great industry that we all know and love so much? And then the third thing is, really, none of this can be done without strong allyship. So I want to talk about how do we help our allies further their impact. Sound okay to everybody? Great. Okay, so Danielle, I'm going to start with you on the topic of culture add versus culture fit. And I would love to hear, how do you create equitability when you are sourcing and interviewing candidates to ensure that you're evaluating the value that a candidate brings and that you're controlling for bias?
It's a great question, and some very eye-opening statistics that you shared too to open this up. So, I think the most important thing to remember is that change doesn't happen overnight. And so I think that it's important to make sure that we're always trying to expose ourselves, and we try to do this at Spectrum, to what is happening outside of our bubble, to make sure that we are finding out what needs to change and how do we impact this and how do we remove that bias that, maybe it's unconscious and we don't know that it's there, but we obviously have to keep our eyes open to paying attention to ways that we can change it. So some of the things that we do at our organization and some things that I've recently seen that were very interesting, we'll set up panels when we're interviewing people to try to get different perspectives to come in and make sure that they have an opportunity to talk to people at different levels of our organization, and we can get input and we can formalize that process to make sure that somebody's not necessarily going to jot down a bias in their feedback if they have to fill out a form that they're sending into the team of people that's reviewing particular candidates. And something else that I saw recently that I actually shared with our HR department, I saw a company that had posted about a job. In their job description, they essentially called out the elephant in the room, and they said that, women and minorities are less likely to apply to a job if they don't feel like they check off every single requirement that's listed on the job description. And so it actually encouraged people that if they felt excited by that position, to please apply for the position. And even if they weren't a fit for that particular role, maybe they would find something that they were a fit for at their organization. So I think that there's a lot of different interesting ways that people can tackle this and try to start making small changes to take away that bias and start to open it up, so that more people feel comfortable applying to positions and feel like they belong there if they do get, in fact, accepted for positions.
I love that. I hear panel conversations helps eliminate bias. And then also, I love the idea of using every forum to lift others up. I mean, I think that's phenomenal, even from the hiring departments. Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to move to you, Kara. You are representing the dealership for us today on this call, so thank you. So I have a few questions related to the dealership in particular. So in addition to the research that I stated a moment ago, there is a stereotype that women don't want to balance at all. So maybe, for example, they don't want to be a general manager, or they don't want to be an F&I manager because they have late nights and weekends, and it's hard to balance that with family, friends, etc. And I'm interested to hear, do you find that stereotype to be true in your stores?
I feel like at our stores, that stereotype doesn't really exist. But that being said, that doesn't mean that there is not women in our industry that do want more of a balance and to not overwork and be here late, really late at night. But then I would say, as all of us sitting on this panel right now, you've got the ones that are definitely breaking that stereotype, that absolutely want it all. And I can tell you there is many women in our dealerships and in our automotive company that absolutely give all the men a run for their money because they want it all. And half the time they're more organized, they're more driven, and they could outweigh the men over time. And I feel like within Foundation Automotive here at Hinson Brand Dealerships, we have a good mix. Some of my coworkers want, more laxed hours, and we've been able to give them that. And then the ones that are shooting for the stars, we've been able to give that to them as well. So I don't think that stereotype is true anymore, because we wouldn't be here on this panel if it was.
Oh, that's great to hear. So I actually have a follow-up question for you, Kara. You started to allude to flexible hours, and I know that Henson Brand Dealerships have just begun piloting a 4-day work week with the intention of trying to diversify recruitment and retention. So I'm really interested to hear, given that this pilot is just kicked off, what needs to be true for Henson to declare this pilot a success?
So we started the 4-day work week, I believe August 1st. So we've been, just over a month here in, and we've had some help from some other dealerships outside of our group that have seen success with a 4-day work week. And all of our departments are doing it, from the techs to accounting, our receptionists, marketing, whatever it may be. And it took, months for us to figure out the scheduling, because if you are not staffed up correctly, then it will never work. Say, it's your scheduled day off, your coworker is supposed to be here, they call in sick. You've got to have your managers on board that have backup or enough staff to make sure that you do have coverage, especially in the shop with our technicians. We've seen a lot of different scenarios arise just within the first month of piloting this 4-day work week. But through all the challenges that we've had, we've been able to come up with better solutions, whether that is to hire some more people that maybe couldn't have worked all of these long hours because they have a family at home. We're bringing new people in because they do have that flexibility. And so it's giving us a better recruitment strategy here. And I think over time, we're going to fine tune it to be exactly what we need it to be, because I will tell you that we did have an increase in sales, and every single person at this dealership has been grateful to have that flexibility, that when they do want time with their families or just need a day off, they can take it. But we never force them to take the day off. If they have work running and they have a customer coming in and they want to come on their off day, they can. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But I have seen a lot of our employees, seem to have a change in attitude because they do have more of a work-life balance now. So it's been a great thing here at Henson Brand.
Congratulations. That's really exciting to see. I think I heard 2 major takeaways from you, Kara. One is continue to learn and pivot. And perseverance is going to be key, because it's really hard to go into any new organizational structure. A lot of us have gone even from working from home to hybrid work weeks, etc. Change is hard. And then the next thing is, I would assume that it's not just the women that are taking advantage of the flexible schedules, but it's everybody, and everybody is finding a better balance to work life, and sales are increasing while you do it.
It's been great, and hopefully that we continue to do it, and we could be a trendsetter for the rest of our company and the automotive industry as a whole.
Congratulations. So Veronica, I'm going to turn it over to you now and talk a little bit about Women in Automotive. So Women in Automotive is your organization committed to supporting and empowering women in all aspects of the automotive industry. And the mission is to recruit, retain, and develop female employees and leaders in every aspect of the auto business. So I absolutely love that. Very all-encompassing. And Women in Automotive Recharge is offering a new way to get involved. So can you share a bit about how women and allies can get involved in this year in particular?
Well, thanks, Lizette. Actually, I was going to speak up on that last question, so this was a perfect segue. I think for both things, the pandemic did a lot for us, for women and for men, obviously, with being able to allow that work-life balance. It showed a lot of dealers and vendors, companies in general, that allowing those flexible schedules made it a lot easier for people to be able to do what they needed to do to get their jobs done. Be it women or be it men, it just opened everyone's eyes to the fact that we can be more accommodating. It just seemed that they didn't want to be as accommodating to women previously when it was both needed it, if that makes sense. And now the women that have the families, it's not just women anymore. There's stay-at-home dads, there's stay-at-home moms, but now that with all these flexible schedules, we can all get our work done. You know, some of us don't have kids at home. We have disabled parents or family members that we need to take care of, but we still need to get our work done. So I think, and you know, I wouldn't say that the pandemic was a good thing, but in some respects it was. It gave us all an opportunity to realize, hey, there are other ways to skin that cat. So sorry to divert, but that was my response to the last one.
That's great.
As for women in automotive, yes, there's plenty of ways to get involved. We are actually going to be doing a lot of new things. We have a social event coming up in October that's going to be a ton of fun. Obviously, we're going to have Google there doing their I Am Remarkable. That will be outstanding. We have a new community being built that will have memberships for mentoring and also for career pathing. Kathy will probably speak a little more to that because she's heading up our mentorships. It's a phenomenal path that we are growing. We're going to be evolving from a once or twice a year conference and webinar company to a community where women and men can come and get the support that they need for entry level all the way to executive, to build their careers, to get their mentorship, to get accountability, scorecards, anything they need really. How do they build a new resume? You know, a lot of different things that they may need in their career path. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be unveiling our new community in October at that social event.
Wonderful. Okay, so unveiling in October in Las Vegas, correct?
Yes.
Yes, no better place to be. So actually, Kathy, that's a great segue. I would love to hear from your perspective as, you know, co-founder of Women in Automotive here as well and leading the mentorship program. I personally found in my career that mentorship and sponsorship has been key to my success. And I think when I look around to a lot of others as well. So are there a few topics that you're really honing into, you know, that you think are like the first that we need to unveil for mentorship?
So we've been actually supporting mentorship for years. So this is kind of our recharged look at mentoring. And last year at our conference, what was really exciting about it was the number of women that stepped up to say, I need a mentor, or I'd like to be a mentor. And so one of the things we find is women want to give back. You know, people want to give back. If you ask them their experience, if you ask them how did they get involved in the industry, what tips did they learn to help you avoid some of those obstacles. So I would tell you that our mentoring program is one of the top for us. And the reason for that is because there's so many women out there that look at automotive and really wonder whether they can build a career here. And so the mentorship and having someone to talk to, whether that's a mentor or a coach or just an advocate that's going to share with you great articles or great people to meet or recommendations about coming to a great conference like Women in Automotive, it's just a good opportunity to network and learn from other women that have, you know, they've walked this path, and the things that women experience in partnership with men, because, you know, men are predominant in the automotive industry, but we learn from each other. And so the mentorship is a great way for us to leverage that knowledge to help those new to the industry or those that are looking for a path here to find it.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. It's probably the most important pillar, I believe, to start from. So I'm so excited to see this in October.
Yeah.
Eliana, I'm going to turn this over to you. I would like to hear your perspective on, you know, how we create urgency to increase gender diversity in the retail auto industry, because I think it can't just be women trying to bring along this change, as we've already talked about. And we need to create the same urgency for our male leaders within our companies. You have a great perspective inside and outside of the industry. So how do we do that?
Okay, so I have a lot on this topic. So I feel like there's different layers, and so yes, we hit on mentorship, and we're going to talk about allyship in a minute. But before that, so you already said it at the top of the hour, Lizette. Men are in charge. This is a male-dominated industry, right? So first things first. What do business owners and business leaders look at? You got to show them the numbers, right? So let's talk some data first, okay? Harvard, they did a study to find the impact of gender diversity on the performance of business teams, and their findings are very firm. Teams with an equal gender mix perform better than male-dominated teams in terms of both sales and profits. Teams with lower percentages of women have lower sales and lower profits than teams with a balanced gender mix. Additionally, Fortune 500 companies with the highest representation of women on boards financially outperform companies with the lowest representation of women on boards. And a recent Gallup poll found that gender diverse businesses units have higher average revenue than less diverse business units. So if we're just talking money, men, let's hire some more women. Women obviously are very important in the workplace. They actually make an organization a better place to work for people of all genders. So it really is amazing that the auto industry is lagging when it comes to gender diversity. I feel that the single most important thing organizations can do to attract and retain talented women, like Danielle said, admonish sexism, offer gender parity in pay, talk about the experiences in your culture, and give them opportunities for success. Cox Automotive, they do a staffing study. And the last one they did, I believe, was 2021. So it's pretty recent. And they said the top 5 things that prospective candidates, not just women, just all prospective candidates, are looking for in a company is it's not pay. Pay isn't in the top 5. Instead, people are searching for a great culture. They're searching for a supportive work environment. The first one was career development. Second, communication. 3, they want to be appreciated. Who doesn't want to be appreciated? 4, shared values. And 5th was diversity and inclusion. So when you have all of those things, or you're collecting all of those things in your corporation, like Kara was saying, are you sharing that on social media? Are you putting some of those things in your job postings? Are you actually saying, hey, we really do want to attract more of those people? You have to put that out there. Are you putting it in LinkedIn? When you do your Facebook postings, it shouldn't all be about sales dealerships. It should also be about the kind of culture that you have, and also don't forget that the biggest champions might already be in your organization. Your women in your organization right now, they can actually put out on their social media platforms, hey, we have a job opening. I'm telling you right now, it's a great place to work, because I, as a mother of 3, am making it work, and I'm doing great here. And I know if you're like me, you might find, that this would be a great fit for you as well. Boom. Who wouldn't want that? I would absolutely take the word of somebody that was in my social circle. Okay. So aside from that, let's talk about allyship now. Okay. Because I know Kathy and Veronica have mentorship on lock. But when it comes to allyship, let's talk about, okay, I'm reminded of the story of Wilhelmina Fleming. Okay, does that ring a bell with anyone? Okay, well, she worked as a maid in the home of Harvard professor Edward Pickering. Okay, and Pickering became frustrated with all of his male assistants at the Harvard College Observatory. And according to legend, he famously declared that his maid could do a better job. Who was his maid? Fleming. So in 1881, Pickering actually hired Fleming to do just that. And during her career, now she was a maid, she didn't have any formal training, right? But during her career, she helped develop a common designation system for stars, cataloged thousands of stars and other astronomical things. And she's noted for her discovery of the Horsehead Nebula. Anyway, she went from being a maid to becoming an astronomer at Harvard Observatory. Now, could she have done that without Professor Pickering speaking up for her, advocating for her, giving her the opportunity that she herself didn't know, couldn't see for herself? Would that have been available to her? No. And I think that kind of allyship is something that we all need. We need somebody who's in the room. It's not a mentor. A mentor is different. A mentor's job is to give you tailored advice, tailored specifically to you and to your career aspirations. It's, they give you the good, the bad, the ugly, no holds barred. Got it. But a sponsor, an ally like that, is somebody who's going to be in the room, who's going to spend their own valuable political and social capital on you, the person who's going to pound on the table and on your behalf get it done behind closed doors for you. And that's the kind of thing that we need to find for ourselves within our own organizations, if that's an organization that you are planning on staying at. I recently rewatched a TED Talk. Are you guys into TED Talks? I know I am. Amazing woman, business executive at Morgan Stanley, Carla Harris. And she talked just about this one thing, about how to find yourself a sponsor, but, there's performance. She says there's performance currency. It's valuable. So that's put your head down, work hard. You're going to get noticed and you're going to move up the ladder, right? Great. You need that. But, there's also that social currency that you need, where you have to make those connections within your organization and find that sponsor who's going to pound on that table for you behind closed doors. But she ends her TED Talk by saying, hey, for those potential sponsors that are in the room, if you've been invited into the room and you have a seat at the table, you have a responsibility to speak. If somebody is worth your currency, spend it. And that is what I would challenge other people in the auto industry to do. There are fantastic women in the auto industry already. If there is an opportunity for them and they can't see it themselves and they don't know it's available, speak, please.
I love that, Eliana. I love that. And I think to go back to what you said at first, even if it's just about the money, Kara has already proved for us that like everything that you said in your studies is coming true for her dealerships, right? So fantastic. You gave us a lot of really, really good best practices that we could leave here today and actually do, which is an amazing thing, right? So loving the fact that as an ally, you can leave here and do a couple of things. I actually wanted to ask Jennifer, from your perspective as CMO of Don 360, out of all of the areas that Eliana mentioned, and maybe even further, what do you think are the two key areas where an ally could start in this moment of change that we're in the auto industry right now?
That's a great question. I mean, first and foremost, I think that I want Eliana to be my ally after referencing those Harvard studies.
We all need allies. We all need them. And
you be my sponsor?
That's what I'm saying. Like you literally have to go up to somebody and say, hey, the kind of work I'm good at. I need you to get in that room and, get me that job, I can do it. We all need that. And yes, Jennifer, if there's ever any time I could do that for you, I absolutely would.
Well, I love that. I love that you said that because, I think the two skills that really need to be honed in on are, breaking down the walls, the paradigm shift that needs to happen. This isn't about male or female dominance. I think that certain industries skew a certain way. Automotive has always skewed male. Ad agencies, for instance, have skewed more female, right? But it's changing the ecosystem bell to bell, right? It's and as an agency, we're doing the same thing. I think one of the things that we've done is we've created this hybrid work environment, which many of you have also done. And that has made it much more accommodating for the person that wants it all. And that can be male or female, right? The second thing that we've done is, everyone talks about DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. But what are we holding all companies to that standard? Are we holding all dealerships to that standard? I think it's about culture first and changing attitudes, right? Taking DEI and making the male employees and managers accountable to that. It's the mutual foundation between us and our clients, and that's how it's going to happen. So if I see that at one of our clients, that there's a deficiency in a certain area or there is a star, I'm like, why don't you let so-and-so come up? I want her opinion on this. And that's a valid voice, right? So it's not only, I think as an ally, it's also my responsibility to call out the people's voices that we need to speak up that aren't necessarily being given that chance in their organization. So I think we owe that to each other. Hopefully I touched on your question.
Yes, no, that's fantastic. I love that. And I think I love that you ended with saying, like, we are also allies to everybody else who may or may not be in the room. And that is a moment to bring everybody along. And actually, you're teaming up really nicely for Michelle to round us out. Michelle, I want to hand it over to you. You have a really great and strong branding strategy that you're known for, which is We Rise Together. And I really think what Jennifer was just talking about hits that, squarely. So what does that mean to you in the context of effective allyship for women in automotive? We rise together.
Absolutely. Thank you. I've been in this industry now 22 years. And although, like all of you, we've all seen an evolution with more women and more diverse backgrounds and people coming into our industry, we still have a really long way to go. And one thing that's been really important to me as I've grown my own company, as I work with dealerships across the country and now even across the world, is getting them to understand that my We Rise Together, it goes beyond the automotive industry. What I've really seen is that when it comes to allyship, being able to encompass other businesses, other companies who have already figured it out has been something that I think will be able to move us forward in so many ways, because everyone buys cars, right? So why are we limiting ourselves to just staying inside our comfortable circle within the automotive industry? We can learn so many things from other organizations like Google, for example, and things that they're doing on a diversity level, the way that they're encompassing different types of employees. For me, We Rise Together, it's something that I'm passionate about. It's something I bleed. It's not just a hashtag. And I think Kara can attest to this as well, guys. Love or hate Jeff Bezos from Amazon. He says that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I think we all have to ask ourselves, not just as women, but we have to ask of owners of dealerships, of people who are in executive positions, in vendor roles, things like that, or even people that are working in mom and pop shops, for example. We all have to ask ourselves, what is our brand saying about us? Are we exuding what we hope to be able to embrace? Do we have the type of culture that is actually going to draw people in versus pushing others away? And with women in automotive, something I'm so proud to be a part of this board. This year especially, we are really branching out and we are trying to embrace areas outside of retail automotive, because I think for so long that's been such the focus. And of course, now we have the Fixed Ops Roundtable, which is really bringing in service professionals, other fixed ops professionals, but we have to go bigger. We have to do more. We have to be able to touch every area and every facet of the industry. And with women in automotive especially, we're going to begin doing retail events that are actually going to have focal points on areas outside of retail. And something that I would personally like to be involved with is maybe bringing in some allies that are outside of our industry to get a third-party perspective, have them maybe sponsor some of our events and say, hey, this is what we see and this is where you can improve. So I think in terms of building allies, we have to think outside of our industry, even though it's something we all know and love. But we need to take things from other people's books as well.
I love that. Yes, I think we don't want to get too narrow-minded in our initiative. So I think that's fantastic. We are rounding out the end of the panel, and I wanted to do two things. One is a friendly reminder to come see everybody here at Women in Automotive in October in Las Vegas. We really cannot wait to see you. I'm so grateful to know all of you. I will say personally, you've just been so instrumental into my career and my trajectory. So I'm so grateful for you. And then in the spirit of I Am Remarkable, I wanted to do just a quick lightning round. And one of the things that I like to ask, is because you're all here because you're industry leaders. If we could just go around the table, what is one thing that makes you personally remarkable? Kara, I'll start with you.
I think for me, I'm bringing something different to the automotive industry that has yet to exist. So I'm anxious to see where it's going to go in the future.
I love that. Thank you. And Veronica.
I think it goes right along with Kara. I think all of us here on this panel are doing the same thing. We're bringing not only to the automotive industry, but to the industry, to all industries that have women in it. We are empowering and, supporting women to help them rise up. As Michelle says, we all rise together.
That's right. And Michelle, what's one thing that makes you remarkable?
What makes me remarkable are all of you. I mean, truthfully, I wouldn't be in the position that I'm in today. I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it weren't for so many amazing women leaders and mentors, and even a lot of men in this industry who saw something in me that at a time I didn't see in myself. So what makes me remarkable are people.
Great. And Danielle?
I'm a little bit of a bulldozer type personality, so I like to try to take that and channel it to make those opportunities for others to be heard and others to have a seat at the table, and just keep pushing along so that we can create those for others.
That's fantastic. Kathy, what makes you remarkable?
So I would just tell you that I'm a pay it forward kind of person. And that is, there are so many times in our lives where you get a chance to give a helping hand, whether that's advice, whether that's coaching, whether it's mentoring, being that advocate for minority and women. I have spent my entire career, 28 plus years, doing that. So I say pay it forward. I do it. And I believe it's not only the big things, but it's the small things too. A big smile, telling someone their hair looks nice, telling someone they're dressed well. There are little things that you can do to make someone's day. And I take pride in doing that. So paying it forward.
You're right. You can lift somebody up even in the smallest moments.
Yeah.
That's right. Jennifer.
Well, I would say for me, it's being able to be super positive and in being able to be an inspiration to those around me through my journey, right? I've had a lot of inspiration around me, and I want to be able to offer the same to anyone and everyone that I touch moving forward.
Love it. And Eliana, round us out.
Man, they were all good answers. You know, I pride myself on being a fiercely loyal friend and on living a life of gratitude. But if I had to say something else that makes me remarkable, specific to the auto industry, it's that people keep putting microphones in my face and I use my voice. And you can too. We all have a voice. And while we spend a lot of our female growing years being told, just sit there and look pretty and don't say anything and talk when you're talked to. That time is over. You have a voice and you can use it for change, to advocate for somebody else, to mentor, to ally, or just to show everyone that you are the baddest bitch out there. Let's do it. But ladies, don't stay quiet any longer. It's not doing us any good. And as Michelle said, we all rise together.
That's right. On that note, thank you all. I'm so grateful for you and I appreciate your time. It's always such a pleasure.
Lizette, that was a pretty remarkable panel. So thank you, Lizette, for all you do for our industry. And I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. Amazing, amazing content, Eliana. Great to meet you. Your words resonated. I think a lot of us took substantial notes on what you shared with us. Thank you. Jennifer, nice to have you as part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable at Dom 360. Thank you. Michelle McLean, thank you for all you do for our industry. Danielle Cumby, thank you. Great to always work with you and your team, and thank you for being a big part of Women in Automotive as well. Kathy Gilbert, keep pushing it forward. Love it, Kathy. So love everything you shared. Veronica, you know, you and Kathy and Veronica, what you've done for our industry and what you continue to do, and you know, just fantastic stuff. Keep up the great work. Kara,
Thanks,
as
Ted.
always, you know, an up-and-coming leader in our industry. So Kara Delaney, thank you. And Lizette Gold from Google. Everybody, the Women in Automotive panel here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.